Welcome to another episode of Pod Between Worlds. I'm your host, Steve, alongside host Ollie. And today, not much news going on in the Star Wars galaxy, so we're going to be talking about some Mandalorian stuff, and then we're going to go back and forth on what we think is the best lightsaber duel in Star Wars. Coming in hot.
All right, Steven, what do we have?
I don't know. I don't have anything.
All right,
I don't
good
know what you're talking
episode.
about.
Episode 11.
Yeah, sweet.
Done. Later,
Done.
Padawans.
Check that box off. All right. So, actually, I'll just make a quick note. We, on HoloNet Live, I've been saying that we were going to be on the Ebb and Hawk podcast this week. Actually, one of them got sick, so we actually delayed the show to. We're not going to hop on their show for another week. So we're doing our own episode. We were going to do our own episode as it was anyways, but yeah, so that's why we're doing our own this week, and you won't see us on their podcast probably for another couple weeks. So yeah, so anyways, there wasn't a ton of news this week. We when we recorded our podcast earlier this week, we already discussed all the solo stuff, but Ron Howard actually, the day after we recorded, Ron Howard actually came out on an interview and said there was no plans for a sequel to Solo Star Wars story. Ollie, I'm sure you're just gonna, it confirms what we've been talking about pretty much, is that it's like Solo most likely is coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's a we're looking at just more confirmation that they're not working on a movie is all. Has
Right.
nothing to do with the other stuff that they could be working on. Lando, Maul, Solo, Kira, whatever combination of those things, I think are very much in progress, and I think that's where we're going to get the continuation of the Solo canon story from the end of the movie. But yeah, this is kind of it's confirmation, but like it's another thing. We fully expected it,
Is that Bixby in the background?
Yeah, I'm trying to mute my mic. Sorry, Christy
No,
just got
it's
home,
fine.
but
It's fine.
yeah. So I mean, it's not. This isn't like surprising or even disappointing. We kind of know that we're not getting like a sequel movie, and I'm actually happy with it. I'd rather have the TV shows as long as we get something. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think the TV shows are actually a better place for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it showcases more. I mean, The Mandalorian just getting those Emmy nominations and just like what they've done in just the Star Wars universe in general. It just shows that you don't need a movie to explain the story, and it fills in the gaps more. You have more content,
Right.
canon wise, so it just makes sense if they're going to Disney Plus, they're pushing all that. I think it's unfortunate from a standpoint of Solo in the movie theaters should have done better,
Right.
but that was based on
That's
friggin'
more the
Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all the blowback from that, and I don't know if it was just timing. I think people are just like, what, screw the Star Wars franchise after Last Jedi. There's
Yeah.
a lot of that. So
And I think the main characters they would follow, possibly, like, this hasn't been talked about, but I almost feel like it should be like a Han and Lando series and Akira and Darth Maul series. Not that Han and Lando need to be together, but a show that follows both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that kind of storyline and where we are in the canon timeline there, I think that actually works really well for a TV show. Because
Yeah.
Han's always seemed like one of those people that goes on adventures, right? So you
Right.
could do like 3-story adventure arcs, like 3-episode adventure arcs, or you can just do like a simple thing in an episode. You know what I mean? And the same
have a
thing with
lot-
Kira and Maul. He's really going to be spreading his influence with Crimson Dawn at that point. You know what I mean? So have him going up against different syndicates and stuff like that. And so it has a logical end too. Maul, something happens where he ends up on Malachor, so you can make that a season finale or like a series finale.
Yeah, you have a
So
lot.
I think
You have a lot of room to, I guess I don't want to say filler, but you do have a lot of room to make it it's just, like you're saying, it's just a series where
it doesn't need to be contained, which is good for a TV show. Whereas a movie, it needs to all be wrapped up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think these storylines could go on for as long as they want, really. So I think
Yeah.
it works well for TV.
Yeah. So I guess we're in agreement on that. So we'll just we'll move along. Another news piece that came out this week that I mentioned on the Hollow Knight yesterday was that the Mandalorian original novel that was supposed to be coming out this fall that got delayed to fall 2021.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, huge bummer. And I think it's just it's due to the High Republic. I mean, the High Republic got delayed to January, so we're not going to be seeing any novels until then. So just from a publishing standpoint, it just makes sense that they had to push the Mandalorian out. From
it's seeming more and more. Yeah, it's seeming more and more like a lot of this stuff is publishing and business and production problems due to coronavirus more than it is because, like, you know, like everybody else, like this, you would think if anyone was if there were a job that was catered to like this kind of like shutdown, like writing and stuff like that would be the best, like especially solo writing. Like if you're writing a novel by yourself, you'd think this would be the best time. So I really don't think that like the Mandalorian book is like behind in story. You know what I mean? Like it's probably done. And I think the same thing probably about the High Republic, although the High Republic a little more has more collaboration. You know what I mean? That we know of. So maybe that's tougher. But even then, like you're home writing, you get on a Zoom call. I think this is much more. I think all these delays are much more like production, publication. You know what I mean? Like the big companies that are involved in getting these things out there. I think that's much more the problem. So yeah. So that is a bummer because that's the one we talked about a little bit. That's not just a rehash of season 1. That's like a totally new story. That's based around that timeline and probably obviously the Mandalorian must be in it or some version of it. But that's kind of exciting because it's not a rehash where we're getting slightly more details, which is cool, but I'm never super excited for those. I just get excited when they come out to see what little details I can find. This one was a whole new story. Yeah, like the movie rewind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So this is a bummer because obviously we're really into the Mandalorian, and this would have just given us all new content to go along with season 2. So it would have been right in the height of us, you know, detailing Mandalorian stuff, which is would have been perfect.
I did not see if the art of the Mandalorian was getting delayed. From what I know, it's still coming out on September. Let's see, September 29th.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know how publication and stuff works. It'd be interesting if there's like a weird cutoff date that like anything due out in September was already in process, so it's ready to go, and anything past that, you know what I mean, like something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it's still. Yeah, it looks like it's still
getting processed or whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a bummer. I mean, that'll be a cool book. It's kind of in the same vein as like Star Wars Rebels, the art of Star Wars Rebels. So that's really cool. But yeah, the novel itself, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, we still have like Thrawn coming out. We still have there was another novel, Poe Dameron, is coming out this month. We just got the Dr. Aphra audio drama, which is cool. I don't know if you've started listening to it.
I haven't done it yet. Yeah, I'm trying to finish up Aftermath again.
Yeah, so there's still content that's going to be coming out, and then obviously we're going to have Mando season 2 coming out, and we're probably going to know more about if we're getting a Rebel sequel, if we're getting all this other stuff. So it's not that they're not busy. It's just fuck you, coronavirus.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously.
But anyways, that was pretty much all for the news for the second half of the week. So we're gonna move on into our our discussion piece, and we're gonna debate what's the best lightsaber duel in Star Wars. And I don't know where you want to start from this. If we should go from movie to movie, if we should talk about trilogies, rank.
Yeah, so I think we were talking about a little bit pre-show. I think we were in agreement that like a lot of people who say like the Empire Strikes Back one between Luke and Vader, or any of the original trilogy ones, the Return of the Jedi one, actually, now that I think about it, was much more decently choreographed in my opinion. But I think
still.
they were nostalgic, and there was a lot of story behind it. Like they meant a lot, those fights. But going back and watching them like in the last year, like when I've seen them, they don't hold up. I mean, they're like terrible. They just, in my opinion, like just like they just don't look. They just don't look good anymore. And it's not like, again, it's just a thing. Like nowadays, there's just like people that are fully trained to do this stuff, and like that's what movies bring in. You know what I mean? Like then it was like the actors doing it. And I think it works for the movie, but like none of the original trilogy ones. When in my head I think of like just an epic lightsaber. I guess I take that question as like, what was like the wildest talent, like crazy fight, right? So for me, honestly, it'll always go back, and this is a nostalgia one too, but it'll always go back to, and I guess it's technically not a duel because there were three people, but Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Maul. I just thought that was the coolest. Like the first time we saw a double-bladed lightsaber.
Music.
Yeah, the music, the scenery, like what they fought through, the 2-on-1, it meant so much, you know, like I just thought that was so cool. I could watch that over and over again. And as like that would be my favorite. I mean, I think the Anakin Obi-Wan one is cool, especially with some of the stuff that they tried to put in there where they know each other so well. So there was just no breaking each other's guard. You know what I mean? Music as well. Yeah, scenery too. Another one, like an honorable mention for me, I actually really, really like the Kylo Rey fight in the Rise of Skywalker, because they both are like evenly matched, and like Kylo's fighting style, while not like the acrobatic style that we saw with Maul and like some of the Jedi in the prequels that are like jumping around, he's the first one ever to look like he's swinging like a goddamn warhammer. Like he hits Rey's lightsaber and it like bounces off. You know what I mean? He's just like you know what I mean? He's just like a marauder. And I think when I watch that, it's really cool. And then really the only other one, again, not almost like not a duel, but the throne room fight in Last Jedi was really cool against the Praetorian guards. But there wasn't really, I guess technically you may not consider that a lightsaber duel, because they're not, you know what I mean? They're fighting, they're using lightsabers, but they're not fighting each other.
I feel like,
I don't know if that one counts for some people. You know what I mean? I don't consider that like a lightsaber duel.
I think, well, yeah.
Just to me, you know what I mean? It doesn't, like when you say lightsaber duel, I immediately think, which I said, it wasn't, I guess, a duel, but I immediately think the Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Like that's definitely my favorite.
I think it, I actually just put on the Rey vs. Kylo Ren video on my other screen so I can watch a little bit of it, because I just want to get a little bit of a rehash on it.
The Force Awakens one wasn't as good, but that one was good. In my opinion, I just thought it was cooler.
So, yeah, I mean, they definitely tried to bring out the epic. Like you could see Kylo Ren like walking in through the water,
right?
Like, splashing, like it. They definitely tried to. Oh my god, yeah. So
he just looks like he's swinging a heavy lightsaber. It just looks so powerful.
He's using his yeah. So like the choreograph here is just like it's just so much better.
It's just brutal and raw, right? It's not acrobatic. It's just like which is cool. I like. It's just a different style.
Yeah. Oh well, they just got rid of. Oh, and then you have him fighting the Knights of Ren. Although I don't think in the scene they just. I mean, let me just watch it for a second.
Oh yeah, so it's the same thing though. Like I don't know that I consider that a lightsaber duel, right? Because he's not fighting against other lightsabers.
Yeah, but this like so
he does take them out though.
not to get off track. It's just one of the things that I like. I think I started to get like that nostalgia like gamer. Yeah, he's fucking brutal in this. So.
I think his fighting style is really cool. It's different. It's actually kind of Luke from like the Empire Strikes Back, but he's a little bit more refined than Luke in Empire Strikes Back. But it's just these big swings. You know what I mean? That like.
Yeah,
And then when he turns into Ben Solo, it is a little quicker, but it still is like this. Yeah, Kylo's fighting style, I think is really neat. I don't know how like it holds up. Like I'm no like fighting expert. I don't know if like
Well,
the
and
crazy like prequel stuff would like win, but it's just his fighting style is more intimidating to me. He's just like I'm just gonna swing this thing. I'm
it's
like
it seems like it's more anger, and
yeah.
I don't want to say that from a Ben Solo standpoint, but like there's more, and maybe it's just how they did the scenes. I mean, even the prequels, I felt some of the lightsaber battles. I was like, so like let's Kit Fisto, for instance. I know we're getting off track on the lightsaber duels, but Kit Fisto, he just like stands there and gets fucking impaled by.
Well, so that one, okay, so that one is the big thing with that is that was explained in like the novel way better than it played out in the movie. And basically what happens there that the movie did a terrible job of like showing is the whole point of that was basically that Palpatine used like a bunch of force powers there. He like screamed, which is this thing that like fucking messes up like your concentration, and then that whole twisting dive that you see and him killing the three of them, that was supposed in the book. They explain it way better. They basically explain him as like a blur, like they couldn't even see him. So in the movie it was like super slowed down. Yeah, like Kit Fisto was just like grr, and just like it looked so bad. In the book the way they described it was like he was like a flash of lightning, like there was this horrific scream and then it was just a red blade flying all over the place. Like that's how they describe it. So like I always try to like ignore that, like the choreography of that scene, just because like the three, yeah, you're right. Kit Fisto, I think it was Saiz Tin, and was it Eth Koth or was it Aaron Kolas or whatever? But they just like stand there. There's like, and it's not like they make Palpatine actually move fast. I also heard there was something like, I don't know if this is true. I think it was in behind the scenes that like the stunt guy was like sick that day, so Ian McDermott had to do that, and it was supposed to be a stunt guy, and they like there was something about rushing through. There was some I could be total bullshit, but like I remember hearing something that like there was a weird thing where the stunt guy for Palpatine was supposed to be there that day, and for some reason Ian McDermott had to do it or whatever, and it just wasn't. Obviously turned out like it was in slow motion.
Let's see. I'll do.
But yeah, in the book it basically makes it sound like Palpatine literally ignites his lightsaber. He does this scream that f's up like everyone in the room, like it's super hard to concentrate and see, and then he basically kills all three of them in like a millisecond, and then he's fighting like Mace is the only one to be able to like focus through it.
Yeah. Oh, yep. So it does say.
The guy was sick or something, or got fired. I don't know the reasoning, but
he actually. So what's interesting is that he actually, Ian McDermott, he didn't like these scenes. It says it right here. Yeah, he didn't like the high speed sword fighting. It didn't appeal to him.
Yeah.
He's very much a Shakespearean actor, which I actually never knew that aspect. He had only 5 days to learn the choreography. His stunt double would not. That his stunt double would not perform. Interesting. So why would he?
So, anyways, that's just one of the other excuses I think I've heard that why that scene looks so clunky.
Yeah, it's
especially after seeing all the Jedi in the prequel, like on the Battle of Geonosis and all the other lightsaber fights where they're blocking lasers and fighting Grievous for a little bit, and then you see him just kind of like twirl jump and take 10 seconds to swing his lightsaber, and they all just like lift their lightsabers up and get smashed, and you're like, what happened there?
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree. I mean, the Attack of the Clones, like, shit on it all you want. The lightsaber duels, at least, or like, the fight with Count Dooku and with Yoda involved, like, those felt more like, it felt real. It felt like it was like, that's what you would do if you had a fucking lightsaber in your hands and you're gonna go after Count Dooku. That's how you fight. You're gonna
definitely the Palpatine. The only fight to me that stands out like as like what happened in the prequels is Palpatine in that room. Even him fighting Mace wasn't good, but almost every other fight looked good. Like Dooku's actor was way older than McDermott at that point, and he looked real good fighting Yoda. And then the Palpatine Yoda thing, I think, is almost all digital. So that's like slightly different. You know what I mean? But like all the other fights look way more competent, if you will. They look like you're supposed to be wowed by it. Or like, how is this happening? But that whole throne room fight with Palpatine, even when he's fighting Windu, it's all of it's like it just doesn't match up with the other. It feels very original trilogy.
Right. It doesn't. It
Which is a bummer because that was the most important one in a way. Yeah.
It's supposed to show like that's like the turning point of like that's basically when Anakin falls to the dark side and you have like the final key and you're supposed to show like you'd think they would show like that more of that struggle that like if Mace doesn't win, they're fucked.
Right,
like,
and you've been pitched the whole time that Mace is like the best fighter. And Palpatine's this unstoppable power, and then you get that fight, and you're like, that was kind of weird. Yeah,
I almost would say like it made it like Ahsoka's a better fighter than him. Like it's just
but that's cartoons are different. Yeah,
I know. Well, it's just
I agree.
The style that Mace has. It was just like really that's it. Even in Clone Wars, the Attack of the Clones, not Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones. You didn't see much from him. Like you only saw the initial scene, and then he jumps down, and then it's kind of like you just see him like a little bit. Like he had the fight with.
It was more of the canon stuff, and like he was supposed to be this unbelievable, right? But you don't see it much.
So, I guess after all this debate, so you would say Duel of the Fates
for me, my favorite.
Favorite, okay. All right, how about your top three? Let's make it a top three, and anything goes. Any lightsaber battle. We should have said lightsaber battle, not just duel. Maybe battle sounds better because there are scenes where it's not just a duel. But
so then I'm gonna go
in the movies.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. I definitely Phantom Menace battle with Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan's my number one. That's easy. I would say my number two. I think my number two is the Kylo Rey fight in The Rise of Skywalker. Okay. I just think it's different and it's neat. My number three would be tough, right? Like I feel like that throne room scene is so cool to watch, and I think that's a little bit of recency bias just because it's so clean and like all the CG, if there is CGI, like it just looks really good with the Praetorian guards. I love like the 6-on-1. There's some really cool moves where they toss their lightsabers back and forth. The one where Rey drops it and reignites it, or no, that's Kylo. He drops it and reignites it. Like just some really cool tricks. But I'd almost do a tie. I know it's a cop out, but like a tie between that one and the Obi-Wan Anakin fight, because the Obi-Wan Anakin fight does have just like a lot of lore and stuff behind it that they trained. Like he trained Anakin, so they like know each other's moves every time. The high ground thing, how much it means, because it literally creates Vader. The suit and like what happens in the future. So like, I guess I'd probably go the Anakin Obi-Wan fight just because of how much it means. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it is a really good fight. And then maybe I guess I'd give The Last Jedi one like an honorable mention. The Last Jedi one is really fun to watch. Like right from the time they cut Snoke in half. It's a really cool fight scene. But I'd put that as like fourth, as like an honorable mention, just because to me again it's almost not really a lightsaber duel,
right?
But it's a cool scene. So I'd go Phantom Menace, Rise of Skywalker, the Kylo Rey fight, and Anakin Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith would be my top three in that order.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's just duels.
As a kid, I loved the Return of the Jedi one.
Yeah,
that was a cool one. But again, I don't think it holds up against the prequel stuff.
So if I were to do it, this is a tough one. I mean, Return of the Jedi obviously is always going to have that place, especially when that moment where Vader is like, he starts talking about Leia.
Right.
And turning her to the dark side, and then
it does have this cool horror moment to it where he's like hiding, kind of. Yeah.
I didn't. Well, not even just that. It's the emotion. It's the like.
Right.
That's what I feel like some of these lightsaber battles is missing. Is that some of them, especially like we're talking about the Mace Windu Palpatine fight.
Right.
There's nothing there. It's just like, all right, they fight a little bit. Unfortunately, the stunt double's not there for Palpatine, so it's kind of just like,
Right. And I guess we knew he had to lose. Let's see, is the other thing.
well, yeah, but like still, it's just it's not climatic. There's nothing. It is climatic in the story sense, but in terms of the actual fight, it's kind of just like it's a throwaway fight.
Yeah.
It's not really. There's nothing good there. So if I were to go top 3, I would actually switch it. Oh God, it's very close, but I might actually say Battle of the Heroes is my favorite.
Number 1.
And that's the Anakin Obi-Wan one. Just because there's so much there. That music is, and maybe really this is more recent for me because I've watched that scene so many times recently that I'm like, and I've listened to that song so many times that it's just there's so much.
I hear you.
More emotion there. Duel of the Fates would definitely be number 2 for me, and then number 3. Oh God.
You did bring up. I know you're probably not going to choose this one, but you did bring up a good point. I always forget about that Anakin Obi-Wan Dooku Yoda fight. That's actually a really good one. Dooku's fun to watch. He's very like methodical. He fights differently than a lot of them too.
Yeah, he's. I would probably have to say, just from a nostalgia standpoint, I got to go Return of the Jedi. It's just too important to me. It like that's what like. I mean, I love Empire Strikes Back. I think Empire Strikes Back is my number 1 movie of the Star Wars franchise. But Return of the Jedi, that throne room battle, like
I would agree with you on that as well. Like I think a lot of people will pick the Empire Strikes Back fight. I think the Return of the Jedi throne room scene is that fight's way better in my opinion.
Yeah, and me as a kid, like the emotion behind that scene, just like is just like, oh, you could feel it. You could just feel that anger, the hatred, but you could also feel I don't want to do this. I don't want to kill my son. I don't want, but like
there was more riding on it.
Yeah, everything was riding on it. So it's just it's hard for me to say the new trilogy with the sequel trilogy from Kylo Ren and Rey. It's an amazing battle. If I was just going just based off of just like how the battles played out, I would that would be in the top 3 easy. I mean, even anything in really in either the Last Jedi, not the last scene with Luke. I thought that was a piss poor scene.
Yeah, I mean, it has like 3 swings, so I don't even think of that as like a fight. But yeah,
technically, I guess you could say it is.
Yeah, you could. Yep.
But like the throne room scene, the Kylo Ren Rey battle scene, and then you also have the Ben Solo, and then there's the Rey is fighting the Sith. I guess is that the Sith Eternal or Sith Guards? I don't know.
When she just deflects the lasers back into when Palpatine, that first part.
No, she's fighting like the guards, the Red Guards.
I don't know what they consider them at that point. Yeah.
They're
part of that Sith Eternal, whatever.
It looked very similar to the Throne Room Guards, though.
Yeah, they had the capes, right? So it was like a mix between the two. Yeah.
That's what I'm like. Anyways, if I were to go lightsaber battles, like just anything in general, so take out anytime there's a lightsaber. Let's just put it this way: anytime a lightsaber's out, any battle, which is going to definitely change the top 3 for me. You have to put, in my opinion, Vader's when Vader tries to go after the plans in Rogue One. That fucking scene. Holy shit. You cannot tell me that's
I mean, I don't think that's I get what you're saying. I don't think that has I don't consider when someone says a lightsaber duel, I feel like the one that's on the line for me is more like the Kylo Rey throne room because they don't actually fight. You know what I mean? But that I'd let you get away with. You know what I mean? Like the Vader one and Rogue One, Geonosis, where they all have lightsabers, but they're just fighting against droids. Like, I don't really consider those lightsaber duels. But yeah, I mean, I think they're 2 different questions. But that Vader one is badass.
All right, so let's do that one. Lightsaber battle. What would your top 3 be for lightsaber battle? Anything goes. Not TV show, just movies.
I'd probably be similar.
Same thing.
Maybe I do move up the Kylo. I flip flop the Battle of Heroes and the Kylo Ray throne room, because like I kind of move the Kylo Ray throne room lower just because they don't fight with the lightsabers. Like they don't fight each other with the lightsabers. So there's like it seems like that's not a lightsaber duel. So maybe I just flip those two. Anything. I mean, literally my favorite fight scene in the movies is the Maul Obi-Wan Qui-Gon fight. So that won't change. Like I think that's just the height of. I mean, it was the first one that came out. We had never seen a double-bladed lightsaber. We had like been pitched that this guy was just like a secret badass the whole movie, and then he is a badass. You know what I mean? Like you only see him for that quick thing against Qui-Gon. You're like, wow, he's pretty good. Qui-Gon like just kind of bailed on it. It's the first time we had seen like a 2-on-1 fight in Star Wars. Like there was just so many firsts, and it was so good. You know?
Yeah. Ray Park was only like 20. He was just right out of like college age at that point. He was only like 22, 23 years old at that point.
It was awesome. Like choreography, and you got like, one of them fell. Like, so you got a lot of like the Jedi stuff, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I feel that, and this is a little bit off topic, but with the lightsabers, I know there is like information on like the fighting styles and how they fight and the techniques that they use. I don't know if it's just me. Do you feel like that's lacking from the movies in some level? Like the actual like.
So I don't. Yeah, I've never been like a martial arts person. So I've read the styles and stuff. I'm not a person. I don't think that I haven't studied them enough. Let me put it that way, to understand. Really, to watch someone and go, oh, that's fighting style 3. You know what I mean? Right. I think they also say that only like most of the people we're getting to see are pretty high end Jedi. Like when you're lightsaber battle, right? So a lot of them are also combinations of them. They may main a style, if you will, but a lot of them have multiple styles. I mean, Windu's style was like the 7th form, which was like basically created by him. You know what I mean? So it's a mix of stuff. Some of there are certain ones I know that like, I think Maul uses one that's pretty specific, or not pretty specific, but like the double-bladed lightsaber plays a big part in it. Ahsoka's style, I think I'm gonna get it wrong, but I think is like a Treyu or a Triu or something like that, which is very heavily like wielded 2 lightsabers. Like that's a big part of that one. You know what I mean? Like, and Yoda obviously is flying all over the place. But yeah, I don't think there's much in the choreography. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think there's much in the choreography of the fight scenes that the choreographer like read the description of the styles and was like, all right, Kylo's going to be like a Form 4 with slight Form 2 influence. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that happened.
Right. Yeah, it's, but I do feel like there is something there that they could show more in the movies. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I remember reading some of them that like the main gists I got from it are more like your style in like, there's one form that a lot of Jedi use. I think Obi-Wan's maybe one of the ones that uses it. That's very defensive. And the goal is to kind of tire out your opponent so it fits decently against a super aggressive opponent, because they're going to waste all their energy and try to beat you in the first 2 minutes of the fight. You know what I mean? And if you are more the super defensive style, you'll never really get an opening if someone's just fighting you straight up. But if someone like goes super aggressive at you, you can kind of tire them out until they make a mistake. Like those are the kind, and then Yoda's, which is super acrobatic. I mean, so I know the basics. I don't know the.
You're talking about. So Soresu.
Okay, one's way better at at like laser blocking, like deflecting.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's 3 Soresu. I think that's what Obi-Wan uses, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's he's a master Soresu.
Yeah. Yoda's what 6? There's one that's super. He's like super aggressive, super not necessarily aggressive, like super agile, like a lot of flying moves and stuff.
So Mace is 7, like you were saying.
Right, but that's like his own thing. Because he kind of uses the dark side or some shit.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It's
Vapid, Vapod. I don't know how they pronounce it.
I'm sure. I mean, Yoda. Okay, so Form 4, you said Ahsoka, so that's a Taru, so not Atreyu.
Okay, yeah, the band, sorry.
No, it's all good. So that's like more the aggression form.
Yeah.
And then Form 5 is called Xian and Demso, which is a classic variant. Let's see. It evolved from Form 3, not as a method not only to defend oneself, but also to give a fighter an opportunity to be on the offensive. So that's like combining it. I'm assuming probably where I think that's where Yoda falls into. And then Form 6 is Neiman, which is Way of the Rancor, which is the combined many of the previous forms into one centralized fighting tech. Oh, maybe that's what you're referring to. Form 6. It's like taking all of them and making one form, but it's not like you're not special. Like you're not specific to.
You're good at all of them, but not
Like yeah, so it's kind of like a broad base.
I mean, I think like what I'm saying is I think like Dooku, Yoda, like the high end fighters may have had a specialization, but they know how to fight. Like in other words, like I remember reading, I forget which one it was with Dooku, but Dooku could like identify what you were using, and he would just use the opposite. He would like if you were 3, he'd use whatever 3's weakness against, because he was so good at all of them. You know what I mean? And that's what made him good, is he'd go, oh, you're using Form 4, I'll use 3. Like he just like, it's like a elemental battle. Oh, you're using fire, I'll just use water. You know what I mean? He would just switch.
Yeah. Let's see. Kit Fisto is more of Jedi Form 1. Shichu, the Way of the Sarlacc. Yeah, I mean, like all this information.
I think you're right though. I don't think they show in the movies. Maybe in the cartoons. I don't know.
They show. Well, I think the comics is one piece that they show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just saying that you have like.
It is
there's
interesting.
A lot there. It's interesting. Like this is the sort of stuff that I would find more interesting, because I actually love, like, I'm big into, like, I like watching martial arts stuff. I like sword fighting, like specifically samurai stuff. So like, it's interesting that there is this component to Jedi lightsaber, and maybe we should do an episode on this. It's just talking about how the lightsaber forms are similar to like samurai forms, because samurai have very specific techniques that you could use in a sword fight, like that. And some people use techniques, and then there's like, oh, this is the second step of the technique. Oh, here's the third step of the technique. This is only one master could get. But like they don't in the movie.
Agree. Yeah, I never got super into it because of that specifically, to be honest with you. I also think it's interesting, but there was one point where I read them all and was like, okay, cool. I don't remember specifically, like, obviously I got half the things I said wrong, but like, you know what I mean? I have it in bits and pieces in my mind. I've never got super into it and never thought it was worth remembering, just strictly because I don't feel like it's used. Right. You know, maybe the High Republic would use it. Like, because in a story you could, especially, and maybe that's because when we think about it, the majority, I mean, 6 of the 9 movies basically have only 4 Force users in total, whereas the prequels had like thousands. So it may not be as big of a deal in the sequel trilogy and the original trilogy, because there's only 3 people, or like 2 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not really... It's not like you're fighting a bunch of different people. Maybe the High Republic, maybe when we get into the Old Republic, they can really take advantage of it, because that would be interesting. Like, if I'd be into it if it was like a chess match where like, you know, you knew, let's just take a prequel trilogy people, you know, you knew Plo Koon was the best Form 4. I'm just making this up, by the way, but like you knew he was the best Form 4 in the galaxy. However, Form 4 was really weak against someone who was really good at Form 1. So like you knew this going into a battle, and he was taking people out, and he beat like this guy and that guy, but then he got a one-on-one matchup because they both fell, and it was against one of the best Form 1 users. You know what I mean? And you're like, shit. Like, as much as you knew Plo Koon could take on anyone, you were like, this is a terrible matchup for him. And it would mean something. You know what I mean? And like you would know that as a fan. I think that would be cool. I don't think it was used.
Form 4?
I in the back of my, I mean, I am a Plo Koon fan. Like, I don't know what that means, but yeah.
No, he is. That's why I'm like.
I didn't know what the weakness of Form 4 was, but that was my point. Like, yeah. Actually, there's a lot of cool Plo Koon stuff. I think he was the only one that beat Yoda in like a sparring match. They thought he was actually, as much as Windu was probably the best overall fighter. I think there's some stuff that said Plo Koon was like if anyone was gonna like would beat Yoda, it would be Plo Koon.
I wish they dove into his character a lot more.
I'm glad. I am very glad for the Clone Wars cartoon because they did flesh him out a lot more than they could have chose a million Jedi. Of the random Jedi, they focused on Plo Koon a lot in the Clone Wars.
And not to get off track too, but one thing I would like to see too, from like I know they fleshed out some of the stories in the Clone Wars cartoon, but there's a lot of opportunity there actually for more novels too. Like,
yeah, there's 10,000 Jedi at that time, so you could make up one and have them on a far-flung world. Yeah.
Or even taking like say like a Plo Koon, like putting in a novel form. I mean, there is a lot.
And really get into them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it'd be interesting because some of the Jedi species have random, like from Legends and then canon. They never really got into it. Plo Koon in some things is like 194 years old. I think the Phantom Menace, maybe they based that off of Revenge of the Sith. But so he technically, again, I've said this before, technically depending on, we don't know any of this stuff. Like, look, we just found out that Baby Yoda's 60 and is still a baby, so who knows how species work. They've never got into the Keldor in canon like this, so they could make up a bunch of different shit. But technically, if he is 194 or thereabouts during the prequel trilogy, and the High Republic starts 200 years ago, but as we go, it gets 15, 20, 30 years later, I mean, it would not be unreasonable to see a young Plo Koon. You could easily do that. And Plo Koon's not the only one. He's my favorite, but I'm saying there's a million Jedi that on the council that really don't have specific stats for how long they live. You know what I mean?
Right.
We just don't know. So they could easily be alive. Obviously, we know Yoda's alive. We know Yaddle's alive. There are a few obvious ones, but there are those fringe ones that really don't have the information. And even I would argue even Plo Koon has a leg up on some of the ones that we have no information on, because in Legends and the other one, he was like 194. So like technically someone did at one point make up that they live longer. You know what I mean?
Because Legends wasn't not canon at that point. I mean,
no, at that point it was like I don't think there's conflicting data on Plo Koon. Right. It's more that in Legends someone wrote somewhere in some game that he was 194 and canon just never confirmed it. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? There's like a lot of that information that's not confirmed or denied. It's not conflicting. It's just, we only got it in Legends. So we like kind of Plagueis, right? Plagueis kind of fits that. He's never been really nothing that happens in that novel. I think there's a few little things, but really nothing major that happens in the Plagueis novel has ever been contradicted. It just hasn't been confirmed. So it's just kind of floating there.
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, like Plo Koon that's a great example. I mean,
I just take more Keldor. I love that species. I think it's such a neat. They had their own like Force sect too, the Baron Doe. Yep. Baron Doe sages, right? So like I'd love that stuff. I hope the High Republic gets into that stuff. Gets into some like the Dathomirian witches, the Baron Doe sages,
Dathomir, that's one part I'm like, we need more answers on that stuff.
Did you know that the Endor Battle for Endor, the witch in that is a Dathomirian witch?
Nope.
Yeah, she's like an exiled or like crashed Dathomirian witch, the one that turns into a raven. She's a
really?
Yeah.
I did not know. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But cool, right? Like little things. Yes, I think that kind of stuff. That book, Legends of Luke Skywalker, was that the one where it followed like different people's stories of like meeting Luke? That one had a bunch of different Force sects. That actually, in The Last Jedi, that big spear he spears the fish with is from one of the chapters in that, where he like went to a world and they were very they were even more like what the Jedi are supposed to do when they say like the Jedi don't use the Force, they let it flow through them and let it control them. This sect of Force people, I forget what they give. They must give it a name. They call it the Tide because they're on basically a water world, and they very much don't use the Force. Like they can channel it, but they do not like it's to them. There's no light side and dark side. If you choose to if you choose to use the force, like if you were falling and chose to slow your fall, like consciously, you would be bad. Like you're just supposed to let the force do its thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is kind of what the Jedi say they do, which is not what they do, but
No, definitely not.
you know, so they think so when Luke goes there, they're almost kind of like, yeah, that's you're kind of not dark side to us, but you're not like pure to us either because you use it. You think you use it for good, but that's an opinion. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
so there's a lot out there. So I think that's cool if they got into some of that stuff. But I'm rambling.
No, it's fine. Just a quick question: is the Jedi Path book, is that considered canon?
I don't know what that one is.
That's what like. So I was just looking up the lightsaber combat forms, just a little more stuff. But that's what it's referencing. But it came way before the Disney.
Yeah, so I think that's another one of those that's like widely accepted as true, but it's not canon.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think anyone has updated it and changed it, but it's not in the canon thing.
Right.
They've done that a lot. They've left stuff that there's nothing wrong with it as like legend or whatever they call it now. Yeah, they call it legend now. So that people can base stuff and it's still pretty accurate. But also if they wanted to change something down the line because it didn't fit, they could. You know what I mean? It kind of just leaves them an open door to be like, yeah, those are the forms. Cool. Are they canon? No. But like you can believe that and we're going to base it off it until something comes up that we're like, fuck, that doesn't work. We're going to add this. And then that becomes non-canon.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's
what they're doing with Plagueis. They're still leaving that open that if they want to change something, they can, but they haven't really. You know what I mean?
The opportunity hasn't presented itself yet.
Right. They just kind of sit on it and go, it works, and it's kind of cool, but we're not going to touch it right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely something I'd like to see. Like in the High Republic, I would love to see like more Jedi form type, like diving into that sort of stuff. I mean, it just
it's been around forever, right? Other than maybe Vapid or whatever that's Form 7 with Windu. So like, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to do that. That would be really cool. And like I'm saying, if they presented it as more of a chess match, right? Like if you were two evenly skilled Jedi or Force users, because
you win.
Like exactly, like the Form 3 is going to beat the Form 4 most of the time, or whatever they decide, rocks paper scissors shoe type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that would be that would get not just me, but like I feel like a lot of people would. Oh, he's using Form 6. Oh shit, he's gonna get killed by the Form 1 because Form 1 is like superior to Form 6.
And it would open up some interesting story things where like you knew your favorite was 3 and you knew his arch rival was 1, which is a bad matchup for your guy. And in the background, like he lost the fight a couple times and then he wins this big fight and you learn that he trained in the first 3 moves of Form 4 to be able to set up that attack for a one-time, like, you know what I mean? When the guy thought he had him on the ropes, and this is where Form 1 takes over Form 3, and your guy's able to switch to Form 4 for 5 seconds just to confuse and win that battle. Like, that stuff would be really neat. It would add a lot.
I mean, I'll go off the beating path a little bit here, but like one of the only animes I like is called Rurouni Kenshin, and it's based in, so it's about sword fighting, in samurai and stuff. It's basically takes place in like Meiji Japan, which is mid 1800s, but every battle is based on sword fighting technique, and this is why I find it intriguing is that anime is basically like every sword battle that they have, everybody has a technique. And it's like, oh, they use this technique because it counters this, but they use this sword technique because this one's more aggressive because this one does this. And like, it's all like that. And it makes it so interesting. And it's actually based on like real sword fighting technique too.
Right.
Because actually it's like it takes nonfiction stuff. It's
blends
historical stuff and blends it in. But like, that's what I would love to see with this is that if they dive into this more, it just in some form,
Really, it's exactly what we do in video games, right? With elements. This is just a slightly different twist on it. Is that we know that Earth is good against wind, wind is good against fire, fire is good against water, or whatever combination they choose in the given game, right? It's the same kind of thing. But I think what's neater about it, like you're saying, is that I think there's just a lot of story opportunity. Whereas if you have these rivalries, right? There could be this chess match of like your guy is, like I was saying, like your favorite Jedi, she's Form 3 and she's fighting her arch rival who's always Form 1 and has always beat her, and she starts the fight with Form 4 and completely confuses the fuck out of the form. You know what I mean? Because you're like, wait a minute, like this is a totally different fighting style, and like it's a chess match, and I think that's cool. Elements are a little different, as most of the time you can't just, a lot of the games, it's not like you just switch it up. Like you are wind, so you're fucked if you fight earth. You know what I mean? But yeah.
I mean, they do have the Jedi Academy, don't get me wrong. But like the great video game idea right there. You could get people to play and you pick, like you go through the ranks, you build up
there's a skill tree in Form 3. Build
up your techniques, and then all of a sudden you fight each other and it's like, oh fuck, I'm facing a Form 7 and fucking they're whatever.
I'm screwed.
I'm fucked, and it's like shit. But like in a multiplayer format too. Like even thinking about that, like how it kind of like Destiny in a sense. Like if you're going against a specific gun, well, we're fucked. Like I can't go out in the middle. Like,
I can't fight him at medium range. I gotta get close range to have a chance.
Exactly. So it's
maybe in the new Fallen Order, because their skill tree was neat. But imagine if it did split a little more, where like you had to choose. You know what I mean? I'm gonna quote, like almost like to do like a college thing. I'm gonna major in Form 3 and my minor's Form 6. You know what I mean? But like that means I really don't have many skills in Form 4 till I'm absolute max level. So if I fight a Form 4 or whatever. Again, I don't know the chess match in the forms, but I'm sure it does say stuff like this form's better against this form, right? Right.
Yeah.
So there's bad matchups and good matchups.
And it would actually add more depth to like the scenes like where like Obi-Wan's teaching Luke, or like Kanan's teaching Ezra, or like then it's like particularly you're like, what form are they teaching?
And then you can really appreciate Dooku and really appreciate Windu or whoever masters all the forms, so that actually feels like a raid boss. You're like, Jesus, like you don't even get to pick a matchup. You know what I mean? He'll just switch. He's the best at all of them. So I don't get to go in and go, he's going to use 6, so I'll use 3. And as soon as I do that, he just goes, boop, I'm using 4 now.
So Dooku was Form 2. He was Makashi, and which specifically developed for sweeping moves and strikes, and they could defend themselves without breaking a sweat while preventing being disarmed. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially right there. It's elegant and effective. That's Dooku right there. It's
all of them have like the major form, but I know that like Dooku, Yoda, like a bunch of them like mastered all 6 forms or whatever, and that's what made them even better. Yeah, Dooku fighting anyone that isn't going to put up a fight like that, he's not worried about. He's going to lean on his Form 2.
Yeah,
but if he's going to battle someone who Form 2 doesn't work against, that's really good at the opposite form, he could use the better form in that scenario. You know what I mean? And that's what made them legit.
Here's an interesting one. I know we're rambling, we're going off, but this is really cool. But Vipad is actually practiced by Quill and Voss.
Oh, right. That's cool. Because it brings a little bit of dark side in, so it's not like overly taught.
Had no clue. Did not know
That's cool. That fits well with his character, though.
Yeah, my favorite Jedi. So even though there's not much on him, but whatever.
Well, that's the best kind of thing. At least your favorite Jedi is still alive, technically, somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. He's been alive the whole time. He was.
I can't tell you how many years I was like, they're gonna write a book that Plo Koon survived that crash.
Oh, good God. Yeah. No, sorry, but he's probably dead.
Yeah. No, they said he is.
Just like Mace Windu didn't die from his fall.
He has a better chance. He wasn't in a ship that blew up.
And that's a good point. Yeah, he could have survived. I mean,
we've seen falls. Yep.
Yeah. So, Palpatine, just like we talked about earlier this week. But anyways.
All right.
All right. So I think that wraps up this episode. So confirmed lightsaber duels. We pretty much had kind of the same top three, except you had
Different
the Kylo
order,
Ren,
yeah, but yeah.
different Kylo Ren rave battle. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us. As always, subscribe to our podcast streaming services and YouTube channel. We're on Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google. We're all over the place in terms of podcasts and everything and video. And like I said, next week we'll be hopping on the Evan Hawk podcast, and also make sure to check out the HoloNet Lives. I do them on a daily basis, just with Star Wars news, what's going on within the galaxy, I'll say. So other than that, catch you later, Padawans.
Later.